Welcome to the Explainer. So that elegant, timeless lute music you're hearing right now, it is the absolute perfect soundtrack for today. Why? Because we are about to look at how William Shakespeare literally hacked mortality. Yep, you heard me. We're looking at Sonnet 18 not just as a nice piece of poetry, but as a brilliant, incredibly designed piece of technology built to defeat death itself. I mean, it's the ultimate human question, right? How do you actually make someone live forever without, magic or medicine? Today, we are constantly trying to freeze time. We take thousands of photos on our phones, we post our favorite memories on Instagram, shoot quick videos, all trying to just capture a fleeting moment before it's gone for good. But obviously, Shakespeare didn't have a smartphone. So to freeze time and make his beloved immortal, he had to rely on something way more enduring, what he called eternal lines. To understand exactly how the guy built a time-conquering machine, we're going to break this down into 4 quick parts. First, decoding the sonnet. Then, the flaws of summer. Third, the turn to eternity. And finally, conquering time. Let's jump right in. All right, part 1. Decoding the Shakespearean sonnet and looking at the literal mechanics of immortality. Before we can truly appreciate the message here, we really need to understand the highly structured tech Shakespeare used to build it. He didn't just throw words on a page, okay? He engineered them. And the core engine of this technology, it's iambic pentameter. Now, that's just a poetic meter consisting of 5 iambs per line. And an iamb is simply one unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. If you listen closely, it sounds exactly like a human heartbeat. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. Shakespeare literally programmed the rhythm of a living, beating heart right into the text. You can actually feel that heartbeat in action right in the very first line. Just listen to the stress pattern. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? See how you naturally emphasize those stressed syllables? It creates this driving, living pulse that just carries us forward. And beyond that meter, the sonnet has a super strict architectural layout of exactly 14 lines. It's broken down into 3 quatrains, which are just 4-line sections, and 1 concluding couplet, a 2-line section at the very end. You can kind of think of it like a 3-act play with a grand finale. The 3 quatrains establish and then complicate a problem, while that final couplet swoops in to deliver the brilliant solution. Now, holding this entire structure together is the end rhyme pattern. It's an A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G scheme. Look at the precision here. Words perfectly locking together like day and may, see and thee. It creates this incredible sense of inevitability. Basically, this rigid structure is the reinforced steel vault that's going to protect his message forever. Okay, moving on to part 2, the flaws of summer, where we set up the problem in lines 1 through 8. To prove his beloved is truly immortal, Shakespeare first has to expose the flaws of the natural world. He opens with literally one of the most famous lines in human history. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. He's posing a rhetorical question here, right? Because summer is universally viewed as the absolute gold standard of beauty. But he immediately answers his own question with total confidence. He's saying, no, my beloved, you are way superior to summer. And why is that? Well, because a summer's day is actually kind of flawed. Shakespeare points out that summer has rough winds that shake the delicate buds of May. Plus, summer's lease has all too short a date, meaning it expires entirely too soon. His beloved, on the other hand, temperate, lovely, and most importantly, constant. As we move into the second quatrain, the poet gets a bit more analytical to show us just how inconsistent nature really is. He writes, "Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed." When he mentions the eye of heaven, he's talking about the sun. He's making this really grounded observation that, let's be honest, sometimes the sun is oppressively, uncomfortably hot. And on other days, its golden face is completely blocked out by gloomy clouds. Summer is just unreliable. You simply can't count on it to stay beautiful. And then he hits us with lines 7 and 8. He delivers this heavy, pessimistic, but very real philosophical truth. And every fair from fairs sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. So, the crucial point here is that all beauty eventually fades. Everything that is fair, meaning beautiful, is going to decline. It gets stripped away by random accident or just by the unstoppable, relentless progression of time and aging. And that is the ultimate problem our poet is facing. If everything beautiful dies,
how can he possibly save the person he loves? Which brings us to part 3, the turn to eternity, and the volta.
Now, in poetic terms, a dramatic shift like the one we're about to see is called the volta, the turn or shift in tone and argument within a sonnet. It almost always happens exactly at the start of the third quatrain, right at line 9. And boy, does it happen here. It violently pivots the narrative away from all that despair about time and decay and propels us straight into a triumphant solution.
And here is that massive pivot. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. I mean, you can just feel the energy in that word but. It changes the whole game. The beloved's beauty isn't just a fleeting season anymore. It's declared a permanent, eternal summer that they will never, ever lose ownership of.
He continues with this fierce, almost arrogant confidence. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growst. Death is personified here as this boastful captor, right? Like a villain who brags about dragging people into his dark shade. But the poet looks death right in the eye and says, nope, you cannot have this one. Death is completely defeated.
But how? Well, the beloved doesn't just narrowly avoid death. They escape it entirely by being preserved in the eternal lines of the poetry itself. As time moves forward, the beloved literally grows alongside time itself. They've merged with the actual poem, completely bypassing the cycle of physical decay.
And this brings us to our final section, conquering time through art, the ultimate triumph. So Sonnet 18 is part of what's called the fair youth sequence, where Shakespeare just agonizes over his young, handsome friend aging. Here, in the concluding couplet, we get the grand resolution to that entire problem. The poet delivers his final strike against mortality with breathtaking passion. So long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. That is just wow. It brilliantly illustrates the true power of literature. As long as the human race exists, as long as people have eyes to read and breath to speak these words aloud, this, the poem itself, survives. And every single time it's read, the written word acts like a time capsule, continually resurrecting the beloved's beauty and memory. Shakespeare realized that literature was literally the ultimate foolproof way to cheat death. Let's quickly summarize the core takeaways from this incredible piece of work. First, nature and physical beauty, no matter how glorious they are fundamentally temporary. Second, time and aging will inevitably strip away all earthly perfection. But third, human art and literature, those are permanent. And finally, poetry has the supreme power to conquer death, granting literal immortality to its subjects. The physical body might fade away, but the art remains forever. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder as our soundtrack gently fades out. If art gives life to the past, and if the written word is truly a machine that can conquer time, whose memory will you keep alive today? Thank you so much for exploring this masterpiece with me. Keep learning, keep reading, and honestly, never underestimate the enduring power of a well-crafted sentence.